one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening all. Welcome to the Monroe Planning Board for August 11th, 2025. And the first item on the agenda is 581 Route 17M. Is anyone here for that? Yes. All right, so please come forward and say your name.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and member of the board. My name is Justin Lim. I'm from Weinberg Lim Engineering, and we've been on this project for maybe a year and a half now, maybe 2 years. I'm not too sure, but we've been, I guess, corresponding with the town in terms of comments and responses, and we got to this point that we have now, and there are a couple of details that I still need to work on, or we need to work on, in terms of engineering. Now, the subdivision is a different story because I am personally, I'm not familiar with this realty subdivision. Usually I've done it for larger projects, usually handled by the attorney, and they took care of the paperwork part of it after the site plan been approved. But this is the first time I'm doing it in conjunction with site plan. So we're doing parallel here, and you know, the procedure-wise, I'm not that familiar. So we are getting somewhere because we made a submission and we get comments from the attorney, and we're going to, you know, work out the requirements they need to be so that we can get the project approved. I guess simultaneously, you know, between the site plan and the subdivision.
Have you received Mr. Higgins' memo dated August 8th?
Yes.
Okay. And what about Ms. Cassidy's memo of August 8th?
I'm sorry?
What about Ms. Cassidy's memo of August 8th? What about Ms. Cassidy's memo of August 8th? Do you have that?
It are mostly details related that I believe Avi has spoken to you, Mr. Higgins, and you know, something that we can work out. I mean, you have a markup regarding the parking, and we can accommodate for that, and there's some landscaping that we need to discuss. So are we going to the details tonight?
Well, tonight's a workshop. We're here to probe kind of whatever issues the board thinks are necessary and go over the memos we have. We have three rather detailed memos. Mr. Finks is probably the most extensive, but Mr. Higgins is here, Ms. Cassidy is here. We could begin with one of them maybe. You want me to begin, Mr. Higgins?
Sure. Okay, we can go through them. Some of them are carryovers from prior reviews. There's a couple of new things that we found, but maybe we'll just go through them one at a time, if that's okay. So this was one, and I'm not sure if we had talked about this before. I seem to thought we did early on, but I couldn't find any notes of it, so maybe someone here can refresh my memory. But the proposed dumpster enclosure is shown to be located 5 feet away from both the rear and the side lot line. Village Code Section 200-34H3H prohibits locating dumpster enclosures within any required setbacks. Either the proposed dumpster location should be changed to be within the setbacks, or a determination should be made as to whether this requirement is not applicable due to the location of the existing dumpster enclosure, which is to be removed, being within 5 feet from the property line. So I couldn't remember if we had spoken about that early on, but...
We did. Yeah, we did.
And was it determined that a variance was not needed because the existing dumpster is already within 5 feet? Is that the case?
I don't know. Just any notes on that? Maybe I'll let you hear it.
That we spoke on the dumpster? Do you have any notes from if we spoke about the dumpster?
I mean...
Because the last time we were all here, June 9th, the main topic of discussion was the shrubs and trees.
Right. No.
Yeah, I don't think that this comment came up at the last meeting
I think
or
it
the
was
prior
way back.
review.
It
was early on.
Way back.
But I couldn't find any notes that really confirmed it for me. So I put it in the comment letter. And again, if we can find something that says, you know, there's no variance needed because it's a resolution of an existing non-conforming condition that's not being made any worse, then I think that's fine, but I didn't want to just, ignore it on the chance that we
David,
had.
going back to May, we had a long discussion on lighting on the site,
Mhm.
but I don't think it was resolved.
We can also put in for an interpretation with the building
Right.
department.
So, right, and that was one of the things I had said, a determination can be made as to whether this requirement is not applicable.
I-
So if
I
you
know.
want, I can follow up with the building
You're the
inspector.
owner, right?
No, I'm not the owner, I'm the engineer.
You're the engineer? Where's Avi?
Avi's
He's
away.
on vacation.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
He's on vacation. He's out of the country, he'll be back.
I hope this gentleman handles kind of a different aspect of the development. That's, if I took your direct remarks, if I'm interpreting your direct remarks correctly, Avi does kind of the engineering, you do the divisions?
I'm sorry, I don't hear me. I can hear you.
Avi handles a
Mr.
different aspect of the development than you do, is that right?
Mr. Lim is Avi's partner,
Right.
Yeah.
No, but
engineer.
right, okay.
I'm going all the way back, I don't see.
Yeah.
But we can ask,
Fred, just
We
so
can
you know,
ask for an
Avi
interpretation.
He is-
Well, there's a lot of new issues, I mean, there's some issues with all due respect that are being raised for the first time.
I
And
understand.
Fink's got some major proposals, I think that, I don't think have been raised with the engineer before. So, I'm not sure it's really, Avi throwing the wolves in the order. But, be that as it may, we'll push through all the different issues.
Okay.
So dumpsters issue number one, we gotta figure out if that's been resolved or if it should just be moved. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, as Mr. Higgins says, that the existing dumpster is right on the boundary line, on the other side, on the south side of the property. Property is facing, or rather, the east side of the property, right? East side?
I believe so, yes. Southeast, yes.
Sorry, south north.
Did they move it?
So we moved to
They're
a
relocating
location
to the south.
that
But I don't know that they
works
get
with
the
new
benefit of the
site
nonconformity.
And we added like 5 foot in distances to the boundary line, and we add landscaping opportunity there. So, enhance it, the best we could with the limited space that we have, and at the same time keep the site functioning, because it's really down to, enclosure. So that's the best that we could do, in order to put it away from the property line, behind the setback line, it's almost impossible.
You think there's no way to remediate it now?
I mean, sorry?
You think there's no way to fix that?
There's no way we can completely move it out into the, behind the setback.
Yeah. Because the side setback is 50 foot on one side, 30 foot on the other, and I think its rear is maybe 40 foot, something along those lines, which is really where they have the building. So it would conflict with the proposed building location. So the only place I think they could put it would be between the existing building and the proposed one. But again, now it makes access difficult, if not impossible. So.
Well, that's an issue,
Yeah. So, and as Elizabeth was saying, we could request an interpretation from the building inspector.
I'll take care of that in the morning.
Okay. All right, number 2. All existing non-compliant asphalt ramps shall be removed. So again, now they have an existing condition where a lot of the ADA parking ramps right now are asphalt ramps which occupy the striped access aisle adjacent to the parking. So those don't conform with ADA requirements. So we're saying they need to be removed. The design engineer recently provided photographs and measurement of the existing asphalt ramp near the inside corner of the parking lot. Based upon the information provided, we agree that the existing asphalt ramp with the handrails located in this area is in compliance with ADA standards. So all other asphalt ramps shown on the plans are not ADA compliant. And then we made some suggestions. In order to best facilitate ADA parking, we recommend that the applicant use the existing compliant ramp to provide ADA access for the 2 existing buildings and utilize a new ramp to provide access for the proposed building as currently shown on the plans. We have provided the recommendation, design engineer, to provide yellow striping in the area adjacent to the asphalt ramp. Based on parking calculations, only 2 accessible spaces are required for the 2 existing buildings. We recommend relocating the existing ADA space from its location near the drive-through lane and position it adjacent to the existing compliant ramp. Since the ADA spaces closest to Route 17M do not have ADA accessible ramps but are not needed to meet the accessible space count, we recommend removing them in favor of standard parking. If the applicant were to retain these 2 ADA spaces, they must be provided with a concrete curb ramp in compliance with ADA design standards. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Agreeable.
Is the board understand what that was all about?
Right, it looks like the building was erected prior to the ADA. I think the first building was erected prior to the ADA. They had ramps in there at that point, which were fine, but now since we're renovating things, it should be
Bring
brought
them
in line with
current.
existing law, and the
Right.
plans don't yet reflect that. So
And the 2 front ADA spaces, which are not compliant, are not required. They only need 4 spaces for the facility, and they're proposing 6. So we're saying, just remove the 2 up front that are not required and not compliant. Okay?
No problem.
So number 3, we recommend that the limits of disturbance be graphically shown on the plans and that the total area of disturbance be noted on the plan. So that's a pretty simple technical matter. Number 4, based on previously submitted the short EAF dated March 8th, 2024, the proposed area to be disturbed is 0.165 acres. Because the area of disturbance is less than 1 acre, filling is not required under the New York State DEC general permit, and because the area of disturbance is less than half an acre, preparation of a SWIP is not required in accordance with specifications in Article 1 and Article 2 of the Village Code, Chapter 168. That's just informational. Number 5, a landscaping plan has been submitted proposing flowering dogwoods as replacements for previously specified red maple and honey locust trees. These changes were made due to potential conflicts with adjacent structures caused by the mature tree spread of 40 to 50 feet of the red maple and honey locust. The planting table and legend must be updated to reflect the revised species and quantities. All plant labeling on the plan shall clearly indicate the species, abbreviation, and quantity. So that's just updating the table. Number 6, landscaping calculations have been provided on sheet 2 and demonstrate compliance with Village Code 200-45J. At the June 9th Planning Board meeting, the board discussed landscaping, to which the design engineer indicated he would review the possibility of adding landscaping along the rear of the proposed building. No changes have been made to the landscaping in the rear of the property since. The planning board should review the updated landscaping for adequacy. So based on the June 9th meeting, I understood that they were going to try to add landscaping along the back of the building. Hasn't been added, so I guess the question is, are you still looking to do that, or is there reason?
Yes, I discussed with Avi this morning, and what we're going to do is that there's a sidewalk directly behind the building that's kind of non-functional because there's no, entry points over there. And what we want to do is to turn that area 5 foot wide into, more landscaping opportunity there, and also along the perimeter between the back property line and where the asphalt ends, which is right on the property line. Perhaps maybe we can pull back a couple of feet, add more landscaping there on the west. No, that's the south side, right? The south boundary line, as well as along the dumpster enclosure to the north, along the boundary line.
Okay.
I believe that's the bank building. That area, perhaps we can pull the asphalt back a little bit too to add landscaping.
Right, yeah, I think that the access lane in the back, I think, is wider than the village requirement, so you have some room to maybe.
I think so, because,
Okay.
from where we did the truck turn analysis, we see that there's some room that we can shift it over.
Okay. All right, so they're going to revise the landscaping plan. Okay. Number 7, a revised lighting plan has been submitted and shall be revised to comply with the Village Code, Section 200-34A5. House side shields or similar light directing fixtures shall be modeled with lighting direction and foot candle values provided. And then we go through these have been on the comment letter before. So the plans do show light levels greater than 0.2 foot candles at the property lines. Applicant has indicated that all lighting will be provided with custom-made house side shields to provide total cutoff of light at property lines. If this is acceptable to the planning board, we would recommend making this a condition of any action.
Can I elaborate on that one a little bit? So the house side shield usually is something that you can simulate it, all you want on the computer and see on the plan, shows the 0. But the actual way of handling it is that you install the light, and what they'll do is the contractor in the evening will go out there and they'll start setting this thing up. And it's not like something's like a clip kind of material, the shield. Is actually with screws. So each piece comes with at least 4 screws. So once they're in place, they're very secure. And what they'll do is they'll turn the light on, adjust the shield to the point that it's total cut off at boundary line, and that's it, it's stop. So that's how they handle the light show. I know that, years ago, they have this clip that's, when you get a windy day, actually you can find on the pavement. And that is something that it was done years ago. And it's not as reliable as I guess we send in the model.
More reliable means now, and you're willing to use those.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, number 8. Plans were previously referred to emergency services for review and comment. Comments were received from the Monroe Fire Department via email on July 16th, 2024. The plans have since been revised. We recommend the plans be resent to the fire department for further review. I haven't seen anything from them since the plans had been revised, unless,
I think I sent it to them, and they didn't reply to me, but I think there's an email to Avi from the Joint Fire District.
Okay.
We should make sure we have a copy of that for the file.
It should be on the OneDrive, and I want to say it was April 1st.
April 1st, and they found all of the layout and everything to be acceptable? Is that the result?
He said, I was very short and
Oh.
sweet, I think it was, we have no problem, or something like
Okay.
that. But it should be on there
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
April review complete. Okay. All right, I'll take a look for that. Okay. Number 9. On sheet 9, it appears that the vehicle used to model the truck turning path is a rear-loading garbage truck, which is inconsistent with the ability to pick up the proposed dumpster in the proposed location. The cover letter indicates that while the vehicle modeled was rear-loading, the front-loading truck would have the same dimensions and turning radius. Assuming that the rationale for the inconsistency is that the design engineer's software does not have the front-loading truck available for analysis, the plan should note that while the turning motion shown is for rear-loading truck, the removal of refuse will require a front-loading truck, which is not shown due to the software limitations. It's just adding a note on the plan to explain why the two are not consistent.
Yeah, can I explain now a little bit?
Sure.
So what happens is that the software comes with the template of a garbage truck. Now, the functionality of the garbage truck is not the aim of it, but rather the size of the truck, the wheelbase, the front wheel, the front axle to the rear axle, and the total length of the truck. That's the one that counts when you maneuver the truck around the site. So in both instances, the front loader and the rear loader is the same thing. The rear loader is the one you can see in residential area, where they, you come with the driver and the two men behind it, and they have the garbage can, the thing. But this is a commercial site, they have a dumpster. So we need that front end loader garbage truck.
Right.
That has a fork in front of it. But regardless, the size of the truck is, in the neighborhood, it's about the same size.
Is it your experience, Mr. Higgins, that doesn't matter if it's front loading or rear loading, or has that been an issue?
I think that the turning motions will be very similar, and I think we find them to be adequate, but the problem is, at least what I was trying to point out, was that what's shown on the plan, it requires a front-loading garbage truck, and the analysis that's provided shows a rear-loading. So we were asking for an explanation as to why, and again, it would be, I think, simply a note that says, although this is shown, it's a result of a limitation on the software.
Well, the analysis that you're referring to is the picture that we show on the plan. And as I said before, that's the only picture that we have from the CAD, the software that allows us to have a CAD file. And that's the only picture we have. You don't have one with the front end loader. But regardless, the size of the truck is the same. As I said before, the maneuvering, characteristic of both front end, loading a garbage truck versus rear is the same motion because the same size truck. Width-wise, length-wise, and the wheelbase, which is the most important thing.
Okay, just put that in a note then for us, so we can,
Can I-
Yeah, that's fine. I'll try to find one. There was an inconsistency there.
Okay. Oh, you have something to say this?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lisa Klein. I work for Weinberg Lem Engineering, and I'm specifically working on this project. We did add a note onto the plan, so,
Oh, you did?
yeah, we did.
Oh,
So
okay,
it will be
good.
on the next submission.
Okay,
Thank you.
There we go.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
See, ask the women.
Okay, number 10, the project is subject to architectural review by the planning board. Renderings showing the general appearance of the proposed building addition were previously provided by the applicant. Board should consider the proposed building addition appearance, and applicant shall provide colors and materials of construction.
Right, so we're waiting on those from you guys.
That's fine.
Number 11, submitted documents include plans for dividing the buildings into individual condominiums. Approval of condominium projects is subject to Chapter 175 of the Village Code, subdivision of land. I defer to the board's legal counsel with regards to procedure for review and approval of the condominium plan, maintenance agreements, etc. The following comments are offered relative to the submitted subdivision plat. A, name and address of record owner and subdivider should be noted on the plat. B, map should include the seal and signature of a licensed surveyor. C, meets and bounds must be provided with closure of perimeter of common area. D, as the map will require filing in the Orange County Clerk's Office, it is recommended that the applicant submit the plan to the county for preliminary review and comment so that any required notes or other information needed may be shown. E, the subdivision plat should contain a note stating that, quote, all on-site sanitation, stormwater controls, and water supply facilities shall be designated to meet the minimum specification of State Department of Health or New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. F, hallway location shown on the site plan does not align with that shown on the interior layouts provided on the minor subdivision plat. The door shown on the subdivision plat that is to be used for the corridor on the site plan opens directly into the wall between units S11 and S12. There's just an inconsistency between where the hallway is shown on the two plans. G, the minor subdivision plat identifies the building closest to New York State Route 17M as the north building on the first floor key plan and the south building on the south floor key plan. We recommend revising for consistency. Number 12, the board adopted a resolution to declare intent for lead agency on February 25th, 2025. Board to consider secret determination. And number 13, a public hearing is required.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? And it's not a Higgins comment. Ms. Cassidy?
Okay. My focus this week was on the document that was labeled a declaration. A declaration is, in lay terms, the document that governs the ground rules and defines, creates the condominium unit, and they declare it to be a condominium unit. So I'll go through those and then return to technical comments. Dave got most of my technical comments. With respect to the floor plan that was previously provided, we had a floor plan dated November. We got essentially a floor plan, a simplified floor plan that was part of a sales brochure. We did not get a revised floor plan. I do see, based on the New York Attorney General's site, that an offering plan was filed and accepted by the New York Attorney General. That has an updated floor plan that was not submitted to, does not appear in the OneDrive, and does not appear, that one is dated June 20th, 2025. So the planning board has not had an opportunity to review that. As you'll recall, in my last memo, I had several concerns about the condominium floor plan, specifically with areas that were designated as common areas, certain areas, stairway to nowhere. It appears the stairway to nowhere was resolved. But also just doorways opening into what is defined as a separate unit, and was that intentional? The answer's still not terribly clear, but it appears what's on the subdivision plat as Unit L, that it is intended to have those units access that area. With respect to declaration, a lot of it is cleaning up the cover page to be updated to reflect the correct address, including the correct village and town. Right now it refers to the village of Curious Joel and the town of Palm Tree. That should be updated. The description contained in the declaration references 2 easements. These easements to be identified on the site subdivision plan. F1, page F1, number 4. The description provides for 17 retail units and 2 office units. Does not match the floor plans, which are 13 retail units and 4 office units. The description further provides 1, quote, land unit, which appears to be the area for the proposed 2-story office building addition. This land unit appears to be treated as a limited common element for unit S16 elsewhere in the document. Unit L, or land unit, is not listed as a unit in Exhibit B, which sets forth all the units and their percentage of ownership. Applicant to discuss the treatment of the proposed office addition once constructed under the condominium documents. condominium documents and planning documents are to be made consistent. And again, F3 number 8A, declaration references yard assigned to unit S16 with references to floor plans, but no yard is shown on the floor plans. Again, when you line up the square footage, the square footage of the proposed building matches the square footage of the limited common element. I'm assuming they're one and the same, but again, they need to be made consistent and clear. Declaration makes reference to treatment of units if subdivided. Declaration shall be revised to reflect that subdivision is subject to further review by the Village of Monroe Planning Board. Again, I note that the proposed floor plan requires potential access through various units. The declaration does provide an easement in that regard for unit owners to cross units. While not necessarily a planning issue, I do question the approach, why you would have units interacting with each other. Typically, units would come out onto a common area. Throughout the document, there's several references to resident. For example, page F6, there's a reference to a resident superintendent, and elsewhere throughout the document. This is strictly a commercial condominium, and so any references to resident, there was a lot of references to occupied by family. That should really, that language should be taken out because there's no residential proposed or being considered. A couple of little clarification issues, which the applicant has, and then just going back through my technical comments. So again, I think some of the comments would be addressed by having the June 2025 floor plan that was submitted to the AG also submitted to our office. This is largely a consistency issue because what's shown on the subdivision plat, what's been presented to the planning board does not match what's presented to the Attorney General's office. What's the status of the SHPO response? Did we get that back?
I thought that was resolved.
It might very well be. I still have that highlighted. I wanted to make sure.
Sure, I can respond to that. Now, let's go back to, sorry, are you done with the?
Let me just. I'm trying to not repeat what Dave's already covered. I went in and independently looked at the AG's database with respect to offering plans. It does indicate that it was accepted on July 11th. The applicant should provide written confirmation to our office that it was accepted. And I think that's it.
Let's start with the SHPO thing first, that I'm familiar with, then we'll go over to the subdivision part. So what I did for the SHPO status on the site is that I went to the SHPO website, and the site being our site is across Route 17 on the south side. So when we fill out the EAF, the SHPO part, element or the form got triggered. The reason why, because the cemetery across the street, Route 17, on the opposite side of Route 17, that's a historical site, and that's why we get triggered. Other than that, on our side, I mean, I was looking at the map. I thought we submitted we submitted right? We did. It was like some kind of I downloaded the map on the SHPO website, and it shows clearly that the area has been highlighted as actually across Route 17 on the north side. Our side is on the south side, there's nothing there. And the way the EAF works is that if your site is abutting, or either your site has historical significance on the site, or anything nearby, then it will get triggered. So that check mark will go on, and then you have to go and verify to see whether there's anything on your side. But I didn't, and there's nothing on my side. I mean, on the project,
you nearby?
Yeah, nearby, across the street,
Yeah.
across, 17.
So that's what triggers it then?
Yes.
But, so we had asked for, and the reason I brought it up is because your recent submission, your last submission, which provided a call and response letter with comment response, says, the response to SHPO will be included in a future submission. So I'm just, what's the this was the status, because we did ask for it to get referred to SHPO.
Oh, so.
So that it should get sent to SHPO.
Something directly from SHPO instead of the website thing. Okay.
Mhm. Yes, please.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Gaston?
And subdivision, I cannot, talk much about the subdivision because we're handled by the subdivision attorney, the land use attorney who handles the condo plan and those things. I'm not familiar even with the documents too, that how it is done. So what we should do moving forward is that we will have our condo attorney get in touch with you. And of course, we're going to, we already shared the file, or no, not the file, the comment letter from the attorney to our
Right, we need-
condo attorney, and then they will work out the details, which is legal.
Right, the first step,
information.
we need to see what was submitted to the AG.
Right, and then after they saw everything out, then we come in just to make sure that
The,
the legal part of the subdivision part is consistent.
So,
with the plan.
just to be clear, I think the issue here is we kind of put the cart before the horse just a little bit, because in the village of Monroe, and I appreciate we're a unique village, there's only a handful of villages that have this requirement where subdivision applies to the division of a building, not just a division of a lot into lots, but into units. We kind of made the submission assuming that plan went through, because if there's any change to that plan, they now have to amend their filing with the Attorney General's office. So we got to get through the subdivision and get it right. And if it's different from the AG, what was filed with the AG, your client's going to have to make an amended filing with the AG's office. I think the biggest thing, as I said before, in all of this is consistency. And in condominiums, there are terms of art, and unit is a very specific term, and it's not just, so when you call something a limited common element, which has a very specific statutory meaning as well as defined by that document, versus a unit, that means two completely different things and two completely different treatments. And not that I necessarily have an objection one way or the other, but again, when I first started reading this, I was like, what? Because they're just different. So I think, and some of Dave's engineering comments, it's just a lot of consistency issues that need to be addressed.
And the county is going to want to, this has to be filed in the county clerk's office as well.
Correct.
And so in Orange County, typically what will happen with a subdivision plan is you would send that plan to the map filing office for preliminary review before everything here is completed. So I would suggest sending, the map to the county filing office for preliminary review and comment. And I presume that they're going to tell you, probably repeat some of the comments that I had, and they may ask for additional information as well, but that'll help you, at least I think, get the map in a position where it's ready to be filed.
But just the description, which was taken straight out of the deed, was a carryover. It was clearly a carryover from deeds from the 80s. It refers to a whole drainage easement, and then also a right-of-way. I know where the 60-foot wide right-of-way is, but it's got to be shown on the map. And that's directly in the description filed in the deed and in your declaration.
And the map has to be signed by the surveyor.
Oh, my back is killing me. That's it for me. Yep.
Ted Fink has got a rather extensive memo here, and he's suggesting that the site of the proposed addition is completely wrong. Wants it closer to 79.
Yeah,
Have you seen this?
I'm sorry, should you say again?
Do you have Mr. Fink's memo of August 8th, 2025?
It would look like
The
this.
heading is green plan, looks like this.
Did you get that one?
I'm trying to figure out what he called
Okay.
the.
It just came this
Yeah.
morning.
Just moving the
Okay.
building from the back to the front and parking in the rear.
Right. That's what he's suggesting, which is a major revision.
It's, you might as well start from the beginning.
So,
Well, he does raise some issues though about flooding and
If you remember when we were discussing the Monroe Woodbury Muslim church, they wanted they didn't want to, but per village board, the new code,
correct.
the building was supposed to be, the church was supposed to be on Orange Turnpike
right.
and parking in the rear. I mean, especially in that position there, it would probably be ridiculous. Okay? They went to the village board, then they came here, we sent them to ZBA. ZBA gave them the relief to put the building in the back where it was originally set
Mm-hmm.
and parking in the front. Correct?
Yes.
Now, in this situation, the building is in the back. I mean, 14,000 square feet. Our planner wants to be moved in the front of the building.
So in this
In
case,
the front of the pharmacy that's there on the other side of the property.
so in
Therefore,
this case,
parking-
what I would offer is, and you raise an excellent point in that particular application, the existing the structure and the parking lot configuration is largely existing, right? The references that Mr. Fink makes are largely to your comprehensive plan, which is an ideal and a goal, and certainly you can ask the applicant to address it. The applicant has presented a plan. In the case of the Monroe Woodbury Islamic Center application, that conflicted with law. So there's your zoning code and then your comprehensive plan. Also, again, Monroe Woodbury Islamic Center was a new build, so they, in effect, had large play of the site. So many of the things, and certainly Mr. Fink raises good points about drainage and other things that are being discussed anyway through the project, and the addition of landscaping and things like that. And you certainly can ask the applicant to address those concerns and how the project is consistent with the comprehensive plan. But I just want to draw the differences there, that the comprehensive plan is an ideal that the village wants to obtain, and how do you move closer to that, versus your zoning code, which is your statutory requirements and the building must comply with.
Right, you're saying
These-
the ladder is more rigid, I think.
What?
You're saying the ladder is more or less mandatory.
The zoning code is mandatory.
Absent zoning
Right.
code doing something.
Now, if it's
But-
completely, and again, this is, if you're designing something that's completely inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, you're not supposed to take action that is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. So, is something that does not necessarily meet the full extent, but we add landscaping, whatever, that's a decision for this board. Does what's proposed move us closer to the comprehensive plan? It's not, that question is not an absolute yay or nay.
Well, clearly, thinks right. We probably should ask for some kind of revision, although it's the late in the game for this, I don't know. Although, we don't even have the submission.
I think, in fairness to the applicant hasn't seen it. The applicant has a fair amount of revisions to do. I would suggest that the applicant take the memo, and similar to the call and response that they've done for Mr. Higgins' memo and my memo, do the same thing with Mr. Fink's memo, and we can evaluate those responses. But they haven't had a chance to see it. It's I'm gonna steal it.
Mhm.
There's some meat here.
No, it's a lengthy memo.
So,
He's also suggesting that we should request a loan from EF. Because he thinks there are going to be larger impacts here on the Rampo water system and runoff.
look, ultimately, can you request that? Yes. We have been working off the short environmental assessment form. I don't know that what's here triggers, it's not a type 1 action. While you can ask for it, I don't know that you need it. And are you asking the applicant to complete it for the sake of completing it? Particularly on a previously disturbed site.
Right, because the back of the property is already pavement. It's
No,
all paved.
I get that, but he does address this. He says the Rainbow River is already
This morning, yeah.
impaired, and this might be a way to help remediate some of that impairment.
E-
I mean, it's,
I would, again, take in very much consideration that these are modifications to an existing building versus either clearing a site or a empty site. So,
any thoughts, guys? I mean, it is a major, it sounds to me like it's a major suggestion, it's a major revision suggested.
It is, and I
Maybe
think they
it's-
should have some time to review it.
Right, yeah,
Look at
I'm
it.
not looking for an answer right now,
Yeah.
but it piqued my interest when I saw it.
Sure.
If there's problems with that river, this is a way to maybe remediate that, and maybe it would be better if we had a new more upfront, I don't know. I hadn't thought of that, but,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something to consider,
yeah.
absolutely.
All right, so, well,
The only thing that I pick up from that memo, I've been seeing that is that if they want to have the building, the new extension building, we shoot to the front, but keep in mind that the front of the building is where the visibility is. And those are the retail stores that's been there for years. So if you put a building there, I mean, I'm just talking about logically, what the discussion here. If you put the building in front, then you kill the visibility to all those existing retail stores.
how many businesses are actually existing? I know there's the Monroe Pharmacy. Are there any others? Some teams gone, long gone.
The limousine companies
Losing
in
companies
there,
there?
I think there's an insurance company in there.
there's insurance, yeah. It's been transient, there's been a few
Right.
smoke shops and stuff like that in and out of there.
But aside from the pharmacy, I don't know, how many are dependent on foot traffic or passing by? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the,
Yeah, that's an issue, visibility from the street's not the only way to draw attention to those buildings. There's also signs and other things, that could be, there are other ways to attack that as well. Any comments, Marilyn? No?
I think Mr. Fink was off on a lot of his, the beginning paragraph saying that they're renovating the whole the buildings that are there already. He mentions that. So
Yeah.
I think he's just a little off. I mean, I understand about the drainage. I read that memo too, and I understand maybe the basement, we should consider that, and maybe not. They say they're just using it for storage, so that's that, but there's possibility of flooding.
Yeah.
About a 500-year flood, yeah. So, but I don't know about moving it to the, I mean, that's a big move, I think, to move it to the front.
Right.
I really do. And you will block those other stores.
He says the way the building is
can I
projected to
slow
be
for a second?
set up, probably in 500 foot or something. Whereas when you move to the front, you're at least partway out of that 500 foot.
Right.
And then he says, I guess the other plan is on the set 17, of course, to another floodplain.
Yeah, I think that's the one across from 17, yeah, the water, that place already floods.
I mean, even aesthetically, it might look like cramped and
Yeah,
jammed in there, and you're like, wow, why did they just do that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you drive by, like,
Yeah.
what were they thinking? You know what I mean? That
Yeah, it could be.
be as well, too, you know? But like I said, it's just something to consider. There's factors probably benefits and negatives both ways, you know, so.
I'm trying to think that strip on 17 M. There are no other buildings that are set back, are there? Everything else is right up front. On both sides.
Yeah, the only thing that's set back is the tennis courts. That's set back, but everything else, like you said, is basically up forward.
Yeah, but all those buildings in that area, they're really just individual freestanding buildings.
We're not touching the front setback.
They're not big buildings.
That's
They're
not
not,
changing.
yeah.
They're not, it's not a.
14,000 square foot building.
Let's call it a strip mall.
Yeah.
Take the average setback line.
The
so
only
that they're all
one that
aligned,
there
all the buildings are
is
lined
Chocolate
up.
Cheese. They park in the front, most of the parking is in the back, because it's up front. But that was an existing building before they revamped it.
Yeah, the car dealership that's there is a small building.
Correct.
Atlas Cable, small building.
Everything's right on the road.
The only thing that was kind of bigger is that print
215A.
set, one right next to the captain's table, but that is still a little bit set back too, you know, and it's not jammed in front of other things.
Yeah, it's not that far back, but you're right.
Well, yeah.
Most
Yeah,
other
parking's
setbacks
on the
along the
side.
street are setback less than the
It doesn't, you don't
existing
drive by there
buildings.
going, oh my God.
Would
look,
it,
it's-
would it
Exactly.
allow
Yeah.
for
I agree.
It
the third
blends
building
into
to be
it.
built?
Whenever there's
The
established
row
building line,
of
which is
where
greater.
it is up front, but yeah, I think adding a 14,000 square foot building in front of all those strip
They're not
malls,
creating a new building, they're creating an
feeling like
addition.
you're trying to
You think you
put
crowd the road.
crowds in.
True, it's kind
And
of
where would they come in, you know, where would
Connected
the access be and all that?
breezeway or something, right?
We have a picture of this, yeah, we did.
You need at least,
Like a hard copy of it right now.
right now where they
And how
are,
many stories is this? Two? It's only two, right?
it's 2 stories high.
I sent it to
But
you.
right where they are now,
I sent it to you earlier today. I don't know if you want me
You have the, yeah, and this is gonna be the proposed building back, right?
Also,
That's it.
what does that do to parking?
And that's what right there, that's got a roof on it.
This is the proposed building right here? That's what we're looking at? Because,
That's part of the existing,
so where's the proposed building?
You're gonna have to-
Behind it.
What does the building look like?
What do you mean?
Is there a visual rendering of the building?
Here you go.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
I don't ever see it.
So you can put that.
But it's, you know.
Is it a flat roof? Is it a pitched roof?
Here? Like,
Might be the
I
same,
don't,
same kind of building, same kind of architecture, but just extended out, because they never matched before. We'll make sure that the next time around, we can see that.
I think given the nature of the memo, let the applicant,
Adjust it.
address it. But with respects to the sites that, the only zoning site is that Ted cites as 200-15A with respect to the setback. The others are all comp plan goals and objectives citations. And I don't know in my reading of 215A that applies, because it's all buildings newly erected or reconstructed. This is effectively a big addition. So I don't think that it triggers that definition, because you're not, if they were clearing the lot, yes, I absolutely agree that the building should be brought forward. Parking in the rear, yeah, you want to mask the parking lot, have a pretty nice building and everything up on the street. But we're not having newly constructed here.
The other thing that I would add is that if you look at the elevations that are on the map that was provided, the elevation in the area of the proposed building in the back, the existing grade there is 586.6, and the grade at the front of the property is 586.5.
So there's nothing.
I mean, what are you gaining?
In terms
In
of
terms
flooding,
of flooding.
you're not gaining anything. There's no change in
I mean, I
elevation.
understand that the map is saying, well, 500-year flood is there, but the elevations are the same. They're gonna,
It's gonna just
Yeah.
go over that way.
It's gonna flood or it's not gonna flood.
Yeah. It's just a little.
Although he's saying there's a basement, right, which would be a problem.
yeah, but only be a problem whether it's the front or the back, I would think, wouldn't it?
No, he says you're partway out of the flood zone if you're in the front. So, maybe that's too tenuous, I don't know.
One way in and one way out.
We're also 500-year floodplain versus, we're not talking the 100-year floodplain. Two very different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to, I think what you were saying before, Elizabeth, is that, you know, they haven't had the opportunity to review the memo. There's a lot of points that Ted makes. I think it would be appropriate to have them review it and then provide the board with a written response that addresses the comments. And, I mean, again, but I do look at it and say, the property's so flat. I mean, you're moving it forward, but are you really getting anything elevation-wise? I don't think so. But again, I'd let the applicant, you know, outline the comments and go through it.
Okay. That's it then. Anything else, guys? No? So, making your time? It's fine?
I sent me the attorney's place and plan thing, not so I just resent it to you.
Such a massive change on here. One working up.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Enjoy the riverside.
Such a massive change
Thank
What's
you.
left of it, right?
that he's looking for. One was to be here.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, I believe, are the proposed laws,
Yes.
modifications to,
So which one do you want to start with first?
why don't we start with the notion we're gonna dispense with bonding.
Okay.
You guys thought about, have you guys looked this long?
So yes, so this came up, we had a one applicant, but we anticipate, and we met, it was you, it was me, it was the mayor, it was the village attorney.
Right, yeah.
We anticipate that this situation is going to come up more frequently, and so we're looking at potential revisions to the local law. So your code currently provides that effectively an applicant has to provide security for all of a bond or letter of credit or cash deposit to cover the improvements, all site improvements. So if somebody, so that's everything.
Except the building.
Except the building. Lots of municipalities restrict their bonding to either public or off-site improvements because the village is going to rely on those improvements for other things. And often, for example, when you file subdivision maps, often there's going to be future tie-ins. So we need to make sure that that infrastructure is built in accordance with the plans. We had one particular applicant where, given the nature of the project, there's not a whole heck of a lot of improvements, but the cost of the bond, the way it's currently structured, it's a lot. It's a lot. So if you look at the proposed local law, and they did give you a red line, that might be the easiest to pull up.
Another document.
Yeah, if you give me 1 second, I gotta get out of here. Under miscellaneous, you go to markup of site plan and special permit review. And then you're gonna have to scroll down a little bit. And this is the whole site plan section. And it's actually, Terry, it's on page 8. There you go. That D. So some of that language is just cleanup. The applicant shall provide financial security to guarantee the successful completion of required improvements. And then the really important part is the alternatively language. Alternatively, the planning board may, in its sole discretion and for good cause shown, permit the applicant to phase the posting of said financial security instruments to correspond with the specific improvements such as drainage, utilities, interior roads and driveways, parking areas, landscaping and so forth. So for example, they wouldn't be bonding the landscape when they're breaking ground. Because, and Dave, you might be able to explain this a little bit better than I'm doing now.
Well, I think, the applicant or applicants would make, in some cases, I think they would say that the need to post a bond for the entirety of all the improvements is onerous because they have to put up a full security for all of the improvements, and then they have to go through the process of building it. And I guess for some applicants that may be difficult. So I think what the language here, and I think it's later on in the section here, talks about is the possibility of an applicant providing like a phased posting of the bonds. So for instance, when they're starting the work, it would be site grading, erosion control, some of the drainage, just to start prepping the site for construction, I believe.
Do most other municipalities not have, do they allow this kind of flexibility?
So there's, some of the municipalities only require the bonding for improvements that are going to be dedicated to the municipality.
Right.
And again, as Elizabeth said before, currently the village code calls for posting the bonds in the full amount for all improvements, whether they are to be dedicated to the village or whether they're to be privately owned. So for instance, if you have let's say a site where they're paving a parking lot that's privately owned with a sidewalk that's privately owned, that's several $100,000 worth of bonding that has to be paid up front before they start construction. In fact, before they receive a building permit or before they even receive site plan approval. So that's a cost. And again, that's protective of the village, and that's the way it's always been. But I think that the village, or at least at this point, the request came in, and as Elizabeth said, the mayor met with her, myself, and with the village attorney to discuss. And the language was drafted that would provide a means for bonding the improvements, but bonding them in phases.
Well, when you mean by phases, they give a certain bond for the first thing, and once that's done, that bond will then go to the next stage, so they don't have to.
They'll
come up-
release the first bond
Right.
and get a second bond for the next phase.
So
You have to get something totally.
It depends on the bonding. And oftentimes, you will see applicants come in and, pick a big applicant. They will have an enormous bond, and then they'll come through and say, okay, all of our roads are in and they've all passed inspection and they're ready to be offered. You would reduce the value of the bond to eliminate that cost because the roads are in and satisfactory. So there is that. Again, in this case too, it's the nature of it's also the nature of the improvements. The village attorney drafted this, and it looks like I don't want to put words in her mouth, that they still wanted to keep the bonding for those items as opposed to just going to public type improvements, and wanted to provide a phasing mechanism. It's not uncommon. I know Town of Warwick does it, where after you've installed your required landscaping to get that CO, you have to post your landscaping bond that the landscaping will live for 3 years, right? That's a bond that's posted when you apply for CO, not at the construction, not at the start of,
Sounds like we might be discouraging development if we do this. On the other hand, maybe we're also
discouraging development if we
Right,
do
we're
this.
making it if we don't do this, right?
You're making it
You're making
hard. What I would suggest is for those folks who are developing the property that may not be developers, if that makes sense.
right.
So end users, the moms and pops, the smaller organizations that are coming before us, making relative, for example, I'll give you an example, Choco Cheese application. Sorry, let's not talk about that. I should have brought up a different one. We're not talking about the awnings. He has to provide credit, security for everything, even though he's not touching a huge chunk of the site. He's got to still cover it. So something could be a relatively small change requires could require a relatively large bond.
What about this language, and you'll tell me, I don't know, this language, it's sole discretion and for good cause shown. Do we need that second phrase there, and for good cause shown?
Yes,
We do.
yeah.
You can't just have it at a sole discretion because it's what, arbitrary?
You want there to be something, just because they ask for it, why are they asking for it, what's appropriate? And it does go to a little bit of a because it goes to a hardship standard. Effectively, this is a quasi waiver. It does not use the word waiver. There are some things where our code has specific waiver provisions.
You're telling me we couldn't just say it's at our sole discretion? That wouldn't fly?
I don't mind I'd like to see an explanation as to why we're deviating from the normal bonding requirements.
The other thing that I think it might be good to focus on is, I think, paragraph F. So there was some changes in there, and I guess.
Financial security instruments is put in lieu of bonding, right? And what else?
Well, the section that I think the board just should be aware of, it says, where the planning board has permitted the phased posting of financial security instruments, the site plan shall include specific sheets aligned with said phasing, and those individual sheets shall not be signed by the chairman until the financial security has been posted. So I think what that means is if someone is looking to phase the bonding, they have to provide plan sheets that describe each phase of the bonding. And I think, if I understand it correctly, the site plan itself is not approved for construction. I guess, I don't know how you do that, but you're going to have separate sheets for each phase, for each bond, and they won't have approval for phase 2, 3, or 4 until they've completed phase 1, and then,
So if phase 1 is stormwater, clearing and stormwater, and they post a bond for clearing and stormwater, and phase 2 is construction, they can't go get the construction site plan is not signed, and you can't get a permit until the bonding has been posted for that. The only downside is we should include language about expiration dates and timing, so that it's clear that if the initial overall site plan is signed, that they've complied with the village law timeframes.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my only technical comment.
Would this be offered to everybody, or is this just larger jobs?
We have to treat everybody the same. So yes, any applicant pretty much almost every applicant requires some form of security.
But what I mean by the phasing, would we phase, would everybody qualify for phasing of their bond?
They would have to present the phasing.
Okay.
And
so we're gonna have.
And you would say, okay, we can phase it. You can actually phase, one example is phasing subdivisions where you, and Smith Farm was a phase subdivision, where you develop it in phases and you file the map in phases. Okay. So there are larger New York State statutory provisions for generalized phasing of construction. They would just have to show that the village, essentially, we want to make sure that the village is not in a position of that infrastructure was relied on, and then not built, and now the village is holding the bag. So, switching gears ever so slightly on you, I just want to, your analysis of this local law, besides general comment, is a statutory analysis, and this is found in your zoning code. You have 4 questions that you really should answer. 1, whether the change is consistent with the aims and principles embodied in the chapter as to the particular districts concerned. 2, which areas, land uses, buildings, and establishments in the village will be directly affected by such change, and in what way will they be affected? That's your largest question that we're going to answer. The indirect implications of such change and its effect on other regulations, and whether such proposed amendment is consistent with the aims of the comprehensive plan. So I think we've discussed specifically the conversation that we've had just now, discusses the implications as well as what will be directly affected by the change. And then, I don't know that there's a consistency with a comprehensive plan, but I also don't think there's an inconsistency. I just don't think it's something that's discussed in the comprehensive plan. This is a very technical, procedural type thing.
No, and so phasing is used all over the place. It's not something we have to develop, it's something,
Well, with subdivision, typically when you have a phased subdivision, you'll have an overall plan that gets approved, and you'll have different phases. And when they finish one phase, then they come back to you, typically get approval for the next phase, because there could be some period of time that happens between those. But my experience on those is that there's usually a discrete end of a phase. So for instance, they build a road to a certain point, and they build these houses, and, well, now we want to extend the road. Okay, but, you know, they can kind of finish that construction. I mean, one of the things I think that we should at least consider is if they have to come and get approval for each phase of the bonding, there'll be presumably a plan overall that says, okay, well, here's the 4 phases of bonding that we were proposing, that an applicant proposes. And they'll outline all of those improvements, and here's the bond for the first phase. Now, they get to go ahead and they start their construction. They get a building permit, they start their construction. At what point do they apply for the second phase, and who needs to review it?
Because a lot of times they're gonna be simultaneous, right?
Well, they're gonna wanna keep going,
Yeah.
right? And I'm ready to start, okay, I did my erosion control, I did my drainage, okay. I'm ready now to start doing my retaining walls.
well, theoretically, because in some instances on the subdivision, all of the phases, so for example, I'm going back to Smith Farm as a subdivision, all of those phases were approved at once, and then and the reason you delay filing the map is because once you file it, you're stuck with it, and you have to pay taxes on those lots, so you'd rather pay taxes on one whole lot than subdivided lots. So there's other implications there. But theoretically, you could you could run this so that the phasing becomes administrative. So, you know, upon completion of this, call Dave. Dave says, yep, they've done that. Okay, next, and they're not coming back to the planning board. You're doing this administratively, but all of that would have to be set forth in the conditional approval as to the timing of the phases, and then the signing of the plat. But I would try to keep that as administrative as possible, and because at that point, assuming there are no changes to the plan, it's entirely technical.
It's just the bonding.
It's just the bonding, and there's no reason they can't.
Can they roll over the bond?
I don't see why not.
now what about?
If the bonding company will let them.
Well, I mean, again, the devil's always in the details, but they're going to post a bond, and the bond is going to be to cover construction costs. And I don't know if, when the bonding company does that, I don't know if they need to know what those construction costs are covering. Or do they need to refund the bond? And now then they can post another bond for the next phase. I don't know, like, how much of a.
Yeah.
I've never seen
I mean, if
one
it's a
that
letter
does
of
it like
credit, if
this,
it's a
but-
letter of credit or cash deposit, absolutely, you can roll that over.
But my concern is that I don't see much subdivisions. A lot of the stuff that's going on are people doing stuff to their homes and stuff. Do they have to provide bonds to make sure the work is done? And how would we apply it to them? Because that's where a
Well,
real problem
most-
is getting people to finish everything they're doing around their house instead of leaving it half done.
Most of that's so if you're talking individual single family, 2-family homes, that's just a straight up building permit. That doesn't even come to us.
Doesn't even apply.
Yeah.
But that's where there's a problem though. A lot of stuff left half done, and how do we assure that that's done without having them fall
Well, it
apart?
depends on what's in the application, and that's where the CO comes into play. The trick is not issuing the CO, and
No CO issued for what's not done.
I think also we were reviewing, I think a lot of the,
That's
Yeah.
where they hold it up.
Yeah.
I think we were reviewing a lot of the residential applications, because I think it was interpreted that those applications were subject to and I can't remember what we were calling it, but it had to do with the
Land disturbance.
land disturbance and the weight of the equipment that was being used on the job
Right.
site.
I think too much
And-
was coming to us.
And
Yeah.
that's been, I think, determined that that a lot of those applications would qualify for an exemption from that requirement, correct? So we'd be seeing a lot less of those, residential homes, people looking to put a walkway in or
Yeah,
something
because
along those
they
lines.
always have the CO hanging over their head for any improvement.
CO or certificate of compliance.
Well, anything that requires site plan would be subject to this
Let me
required,
ask you this.
right, bonding?
Mhm.
Any site plan that requires planning board approval is subject to the bonding.
Let me ask you this. Any projects that's being built, and let's take the biggest thing that we have going on in the Monroe area right now, which is the business center at 208. With that, I'm assuming they're gonna come in with a bond or a letter of credit for the full value of the project. With that, they may come in with phased construction. Because first of all, I would like to see it done that way. I've elaborated more than once. You're not doing anything with the building until the roadway is done and the roadway has been proven to work. Then you start your construction. Now, that's a couple of phases of the work. Need to be the roadway, then next would be, let's say, half the building and then the other half of the building. Example, 3 phases of the work. So I put up my bond for the first phase of the work. With that, the village holds, the planning board holds a 10% retention on that until the project is completed. Phase 2, another bond is issued, or letter of credit. When that phase of the work is completed, another 10% bond on that amount is placed in security. And then the third phase of the work, of course, everything is completed, done, all the bonding is sent back. Typically, that's what you see. Now, somehow this has to address what I just said. And our comments, I think, should be in that form. I don't know, David, what do you think? As the engineer, you've seen it before, you've seen the retention. Phase 1 is completed, I'm still holding on to 10%.
Isn't that addressed with that section F that
Go ahead.
Mr. Higgins read?
I'm sorry.
Isn't that addressed with section F that Mr. Higgins read?
So,
I-
there's just,
I really.
Section F, Mr.
Yeah,
Higgins read
section
section
F.
F there. That paragraph there, or the part there at the end that's highlighted.
so typically, with respects to the bond, there's a construction bond and then there's a maintenance, a performance bond and then a maintenance bond. Particularly for the public infrastructure, the streets and the biggie pump stations and things like that, they're gonna get dedicated, and Dave, stop me at any point in time. So the performance bond, once it's built, that bond is released. And then it's substituted with a maintenance bond for a certain amount, to
I think
cover.
it's 5%
Percent.
usually, yeah.
It's 5,
For
yeah.
a period of, I think, 1 year. I believe.
So that bond is, if it goes to hell in a hand truck because something broke, there's a maintenance bond there, if the developer does not fix or maintain that, the village can use the bond to go do that. So there isn't necessarily this retainage. There is also a 5% inspection fees of the total cost to cover, whether it's Dave or a third party, to bring somebody in to inspect the infrastructure.
When you say maintenance bond, it's nice if it's a private piece of property. But this is going to be public property. This is going to be road improvement. My example is still 208.
Well,
That's where I think this law is coming in.
Well, the code doesn't differentiate, right?
Yeah, the
It
code
currently
doesn't-
doesn't differentiate between
No.
what's to be offered for dedication to the village or what's privately owned, and I believe as written, it also does not differentiate between those two. So your bonding requirements are currently the same and they're proposed to be the same, although this, as written, gives the board discretion to make modifications to both privately
Now,
owned or
in the
village
I
owned.
case
think-
of
I
20
think you still can retain a 10% bond on the phase of work that has been completed. And if you want to have a maintenance bond on top of that,
Well, there's nothing in our statute for a 10% retainage. With respect to 208, the vast majority of offsite
well,
improvements.
that's what I'm saying, that should be our comment. I think that might be a proper comment here.
With respect to 208, the vast majority of improvements.
Respect any project.
Well, let me,
Even if I had a subdivision, I have 3 phases of building homes, 3 phases of building condominiums, stick-built condominiums like they're doing over in, town of Palm. 3 phases of the work. I'm holding a 10% retention until that project is completed.
I can put it in the letter if that's what the rest of the board wants.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
Keith, Fred?
It sounds reasonable to me. It sounds reasonable to me.
I think it's reasonable.
But 10% of what?
David, what do you think?
Well, I mean, the question is,
You've seen these engineering projects before, these construction projects before.
what I would tell you is that, yes, I've seen a lot of these projects. I've seen subdivisions and private developments where, in some cases, the developers, they were not big developers. They were mom and pop folks. They were farmers that owned the land for,
Okay.
generations. And when they went to subdivide it, they had in most of those cases, they were still public improvements. They were building a road. And the costs of doing that and the bonding costs really made it difficult for them to develop the property.
A lot of subdivisions.
And they've been asking for extensions of those approvals for 15 years. I've seen other applications where someone in the town of Wallkill had to post a bond because the town of Wallkill, there was a requirement that you put a bond up for all improvements, whether they're private or public, which is similar to what this village has, where they were taking an old dilapidated parking lot and resurfacing it. So they had to post a bond for $300,000 to resurface a parking lot. Made it difficult for the developer, and that was the developer, made it difficult for the developer to do that, to just resurface the parking lot. And that was because honestly, it was tied in with use of the property. If he didn't need a change of use, he wouldn't have needed planning board approval, he could have resurfaced it without the bond. But because he had gone and said, okay, well, we wanted to use the property, now he's under that envelope, he had to post a $300,000 bond to resurface the parking
So
lot.
maybe that's not a good idea.
So, I mean, there's a wide range of things, but I would say that if you're talking about big developments and big developers, they have the money to be able to come up with a bond for the
And
project.
it's also in your discretion. They have to demonstrate, so I agree with Dave, I'm not necessarily worried about the 208s of the world coming in and saying, hey, we want to phase the bonding. They're gonna go, okay, the bonding company, they're gonna go, okay, this project's gonna cost X million
As long
dollars.
as retention is there for the project to be completed, don't start your project, phase 1, halfway completed, and then all of a sudden nothing happens.
I will include the comment,
But that's- see, you might be working against the very thing you're worried about, you might help bring about. Right? Because sometimes these projects may not go through if they run out of money, or they get stalled because they run out of money. But they're gonna need more money if we put these onerous requirements in there.
Okay.
So the very thing I think that we're worried about
But again,
might be
Detriment.
might be brought about by trying to
Yeah.
guarantee against it. Or at least if we put hard and fast numbers in there. I think if we're looking at something and it's at our sole discretion for good cause shown, we probably have flexibility to say we want a percentage of the bond or you know, in this case for this project and a different amount for a different project or whatever. I suspect the board would have that kind of flexibility. I don't see it, first of all, I don't see anything that's why we wouldn't, I mean, the way it's written.
Yeah, just to make it across the board would be.
Too rigid.
Yeah.
It would be arguably too rigid.
Right. This gives you effectively a case-by-case waiver.
Right.
That in this one instance, what has precipitated this local law, one applicant has come before and said, hey, this is really onerous, do we really need this? And we're all kind of like, this is a little overkill on this particular applicant, but there is no legal authority for the village board
So, right.
to say, because usually what happens is they present a cost estimate to Dave. Dave goes and looks at that cost estimate against industry standards. Does that match? And Dave goes, yep, that's the cost estimate, whatever it's gonna be, this project's gonna be $7 million to build, right? They then present that to the board, they set that number as that's the amount of the security, whether it's by bonds, whatever form it may take. So it was the opinion of the village attorney, and I do agree with her, that there is no legal authority for there to be any deviation. You might futz with the numbers a little bit, but that's not going to, in good faith, you can't just zero out all the numbers to reduce the bond to it. That would just open the door to misuse. So the thought process is, let's give a little flexibility on a case-by-case basis, so that the board and the engineer can evaluate what's appropriate, and how does the particular site interact with other public sites or adjoining sites. So
are we trying to figure this out tonight? Because we are missing members as well.
what I can
You know,
do
I'd like
is,
to
I'm gonna
have other
go back to my
opinions.
office. I will listen to the tape. I will try to fit this discussion into those questions. I will raise the comments that were raised by the board members in that letter, and I will circulate it. Okay?
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough.
Next proposed law? This is the country inn?
Yes. I'm gonna have to listen to the tape again to get all of that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm going to get it started. Now, Elizabeth, what prompted this? The need for a country inn?
My understanding, though I cannot confirm, that a property owner requested it.
Where was this language pulled from?
This was presented, this was as drafted by the village attorney. My understanding is that the biggest issue and the need for this is that a bed and breakfast does not allow for a restaurant. I'm sorry, I take that. I take that back. I'm sorry, yes, restaurant, and there was a desire to have an accessory use of a museum. And remember, this use only applies to adaptive reuse of historic residences. You had previously had an application for, and actually, I think it predates everybody except Maryland, the application for an adult senior, housing.
This could apply to them.
Correct. But again, this is only under adaptive reuse, it's not a new use.
An adapted reuse, not a new use.
So it only it's not like they're creating a new use for districts. They're just adding a permitted use under our adaptive reuse. So.
Whatever the hell.
What I,
It's for an existing historic structure, right?
I'm glad you know what you're
Is
talking
that what you're trying to
about.
say? It's
all
an
right,
existing
let's try that
historic
again,
structure.
yes. So you can't just say, oh, I want to build a country inn. You have to have an existing historic structure on the National Register.
And the property, the lot size has to be at least 45,000 square feet.
What?
Rest Haven, that's the only one that we know of right here.
That,
That
you would
the one.
you would be putting your finger on the,
I would think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And they have other requirements there. The lot size needs to be at least 45,000 square feet. It has to have frontage and on and direct vehicular access to an existing street with capacity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It's made specific.
there are theoretically other structures in the village that would qualify and benefit from this. I don't know how many.
No, I don't know of any myself.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
How big is the Seaman House?
What?
How big is the Seaman House?
I don't know.
No idea.
And really, it's the lot size.
The lot size.
Yeah.
I just got a very late notice that our lights aren't in front of us tonight.
Uh,
We're having a hard time hearing, so.
Okay.
Well, the notice was on time.
I can tell you my mic works just fine.
Thank God for that.
I would love to have your mics.
Any questions or any comments on the country inn definition and parameters? No? I don't think we have any comments. I don't have any comments.
Okay, so going back to those,
Well, there's just one thing, this won't open a can of worms for other historic buildings where they want to start doing something else in it then. I mean, would this bite us in the butt later or something?
if there was a building that met the definition of historic buildings and they had sufficient lot size, that building could apply for this use.
Okay.
So I think the board has figured out where the source of the draft local law has come from.
Okay.
I again refer you back to those 4 questions. Whether the change is consistent with the aims and principles embodied in the chapter as the particular district's concerned, which areas, land uses, buildings, and establishments in the village will be directly affected by such change, and in what way will they be affected, the indirect implications of such change and its effect on other regulations, and whether such proposed amendment is consistent with the aims of the comprehensive plan. So, also, give me 1 second. Under our review authority, I just want to, we have 45 days to issue comments. Okay, we got it, when did I email it to you, Terry? Which was like instantly, so I got it like Thursday or Friday.
Oh, when did you send it to me?
When did I send it to you? Because that's when we got it. You uploaded it 4 days ago, so that would have been
So we could probably
Friday
should
the-
revisit this.
Friday the 8th. Yeah, I'm kind of with everything because I got to go listen on the other local law.
We should revisit this at the next workshop.
So that's why give me 1 second. Friday the 8th, add or subtract dates. I sent it to you on the 6th?
Yeah.
Okay, I sent it to you on the 6th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you guys know that if you go to the calculator feature, there's a handy dandy calculator feature? Date calc, there is. I've been practicing law like 13 years before I found it. So our return date would be, it's technically Saturday, September 20th. That puts us at the 22nd. And we don't have a September work session, correct? Terry?
Special meeting.
We have a special meeting, it's one meeting in September.
Do we have a work session and not a meeting? Because it's Rosh Hashanah's at the end of the month?
No, yeah, this is a special meeting beginning in September.
Did you know about that in the calendar feature?
It's the 8th. Yeah, I actually just found that out a few
We
weeks
have a
ago.
workshop on September 8th?
On the 8th.
And that's the special meeting.
No, and then we have a special meeting on October 6th.
October 6th, nothing in September?
September 8th.
Just the workshop.
Workshop.
Okay, well, that actually is
Perfect.
good. So actually, that's perfect, because what I would respectfully propose, unless Terry tells me otherwise, and this will give me a little bit more time to pull everything together, I will try drafting a response. We can edit that response as we go. You know I have my computer here. We have no other applications for next meeting, regular meeting, so our second August meeting. So what I'm proposing is I would circulate that in that letter. I will try to circulate it well in advance so you can all read it, mark it up, really have and then the work session on the 8th, you would authorize me to finalize it.
Okay.
There's just been enough discussion that the consensus and the discussion, I want you to see it in writing before I
Sure.
send it off. But we would also then be canceling the August 26th planning board meeting.
Okay.
Does anybody have any objection?
No.
So-
Not here.
And I don't have to change the workshop to a special meeting or anything?
No.
Just leave it.
So is there a motion to cancel the regular meeting, the August 26th meeting?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made by member Leonucci, seconded by member Allen. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Opposed? Motion carries.
so then that'll actually give Monroe Woodbury Islamic Center, they won't be ready, but it'll be fine. Okay.
August 25th is canceled.
Mm-hmm.
See, I found you a free night.
Yeah,
We're
like it.
probably gonna have 208 that.
On the,
Pretty easy to cancel a meeting when the champ's not here.
We already canceled it. We canceled it already.
No, on the next one, on the.
Oh, okay.
All right. Should we adjourn then? This is a workshop. Should we do you need a motion to adjourn?
yes, make a motion to adjourn.
Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Member Allen.
Second it.
Member Allen made it. Member Roberto seconded. All in favor?
Aye.